Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at some very fun spice battles in the Open Master League, featuring level 50 Shadow Latios with Luster Purge. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Sniped Bruh, so many thanks for the battle submission. Latios is a Dragon and Psychic type Pokemon with the moveset of Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw, and Luster Purge. Latios, definitely not the typical Dragon of choice in the Open Master League, but Shadow Luster Purge hits like an absolute truck. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out level 50 Shadow Latios in the Open Master League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a Nightmare lead, Xerneas into Ho-Oh. Immediate save switch into Shadow Latios, and the opponent is going to respond with Xerneas. Xerneas hitting Latios for super effective damage, but Latios has a nasty surprise, charging up the Luster Purge, and it connects, nearly one-shotting the Xerneas. What is that damage? Shielding up the Moonblast, getting the double resisted Dragon Breath farm down, and just like that, Shadow Latios has flipped switch advantage. Opponent now sends in their final Pokemon, which is Dialga. Dialga is going to be taking neutral damage from this Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw will be no-shielded by the Dialga. Dialga is going to save its shields, as it knows that Xerneas is going to have to fire off close combat to get the KO, and is not a threat to farm down. Iron Head will connect, in comes Ho-Oh, and here's where Shadow Latios winning switch advantage becomes extremely important, as now the Ho-Oh is aligned against Kyogre, which is a dominant matchup for the Kyogre. Sacred Fire, unfortunately, is going to debuff Kyogre, but very nice energy management, firing off the Surf before the Brave Bird is reached. Ho-Oh forced to commit the shield. Ho-Oh is going to be firing off its energy as it goes for the Brave Bird, and we're going to see Kyogre actually deciding to take extra damage so that way it can limit the amount of farm from the Ho-Oh and hopefully burn the Switch Clock. Surf will be shielded. Switch Clock's up, switching into the Xerneas, and the play works. Stalling out the switch timer, able to switch, sniping with the close combat, and securing the win. Great lead in the next match, Xerneas into Dialga. Considering what's in the back, incredibly nice to catch the Dialga on the lead. Xerneas farming up and going straight for the Moonblast. This is how I like to play this matchup out when I'm running Xerneas as well, is going straight for the Moonblast on the first one. Since Moonblast doesn't come with a debuff like Close Combat does, even if the opponent no-shields, you can no-shield back and still win the zeros. Farming up for the Close Combat, but the opponent makes a beautiful catch, catching Close Combat onto Lugia. Gonna stay in with the Xerneas, rebank that Close Combat, and send in Kyogre. And that Close Combat should hopefully be useful in potentially getting rid of that Dialga later in the game. Lugia has a ton of energy, Kyogre commits the shield, and it is going to be the Sky Attack. Kyogre continuing to farm. This is not enough energy for an Aeroblast, so we can see the no shield from the Kyogre. Kyogre continuing to farm, hoping that a Surf plus Waterfalls is going to be enough to get the farm down here. Surf will connect. Can Kyogre get the farm down? It just cannot, force to go for the Surf on the CMP tie. This Surf will be no-shielded by the opponent. In the back, opponent has their own Kyogre. Going to fire off the Surf, and then it is Shadow Latios time. Latios hitting for neutral, in comes the Dialga. Latios looking for the farm down, but the Dialga on 1 HP makes it to the Iron Head. The opponent still has 2 shields remaining, but this game is still looking pretty good. All you have to do is get the 2 moves on the Latios, because you have the Close Combat stored on the Xerneas. Dragon Claw number 1 is going to be shielded, making it to Dragon Claw number 2. Opponent chooses to let it go, knowing that it will do less than a Close Combat, but it's not going to be enough for the opponent, and that's a good game. The Ho-Oh lead returns in the next match, and as before, immediate save switch into Latios. This opponent is going to respond with Dialga. Latios farming up, going for the Luster Purge. It's resisted, but it's a massively powerful move. Luster Purge connects, gets the defense drop, and just like that, Shadow Latios is going to flip switch from a Dialga. Dialga able to grab a shield, but losing switch advantage, and that is a massive problem for the opponent, as now they're stuck with a Kyogre locked into their Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh goes for the Brave Bird. Can Kyogre get the farm down? No. Ho-Oh with a fraction of HP makes it to the last second charge move. We see the no shield from Kyogre. In the back, it's Zekrom, and things are looking good for Xerneas here. Xerneas down a shield, but will be able to tank a Fusion Bolt from this Zekrom, no problem. Moonblast is shielded. We do not see an attack drop. Continuing to farm up. Opponent firing off energy, and we will see a shield from the Xerneas. It is the Fusion Bolt from the Zekrom. Xerneas continuing to farm, going for Moonblast number 2. This should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and it does. Xerneas continuing to farm. Very nice energy management from the opponent. They're going for the Fusion Bolt. This Fusion Bolt is going to get the Xerneas low. In comes the Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh gets Geomancy down by the Xerneas. In comes the Zekrom to get knocked out by the Moonblast, and that's game over. The tough leads continue in the next match, leading Xerneas into Shadow Metagross. We're going to see a save switch into Shadow Latios. Shadow Latios taking neutral damage from these bullet punches, and the Shadow on Shadow, this damage is adding up quickly. Dragon Claw will be no shielded opponent, now going to send in Lugia, and this is very unfortunate as Lugia, of course, is going to be resisting the Luster Purge. Going for it anyway, even when resisted, it's still a very powerful move, and in comes the Xerneas. Xerneas farming up. Lugia is at an Aeroblast here, and we're going to see a no shield as Aeroblast is survivable for the Xerneas. Xerneas looking to farm up as much energy as possible, farming up to 100 energy and going for the Moonblast. Moonblast should be lethal, and it is. Opponent, of course, still has that Shadow Metagross, and we see a beautiful catch onto Kyogre as the opponent fires off the Meteor Mash. That's a waste of energy for the opponent, but it's Dragonite in the back, and this is just looking like too much of a hard counter team to overcome. We're going to see Kyogre committing the shield as Dragonite goes for the Dragon Claw. Kyogre is still going to try and play this out, going for the Thunder. Thunder will hit for neutral damage here, but it's not going to be enough to KO. Opponent commits the shield. It is a CMP tie, but this is still looking extremely, extremely tough. The opponent goes for the undercharge. They're actually waiting the switch clock here. Oh my goodness, able to bank a move, switching in the Xerneas. Is this possible? The opponent may have just given a win con. Dragon Claw is shielded. In comes the Metagross. Metagross will be met with the back-to-back close combats. Close combat will be shielded by the opponent, able to make it to another close combat, and this will be lethal. The question is, how healthy is the Dragonite? Can Dragonite get KO'd by a Surf? Come on, Kyogre. Moment of truth. Triple hard counter game. Is it winnable? Surf does not get the KO, and it's a heartbreaking defeat. Moving to the next match, and Xerneas absolutely cannot catch a break on the lead as it leads into another Ho-Oh. The Latios save switch will again be answered by Dialga, and Dialga is going to be hit with the Luster Purge. Are they going to respect the damage here? Yes, they do. They get the defense drop, but unfortunately with the shield, Latios not going to be able to make a play for switch advantage. In comes Xerneas. Xerneas is going to have to deal with a lot of energy from this Dialga. Dialga going for Iron Head number 1. We already see the no shield from the Xerneas. Xerneas farming up, able to make it to the close combat here. Opponent has a decision to make. Are they willing to burn the final shield? No. In comes Ho-Oh. It will be answered with Kyogre, and it's Xerneas in the back, and things are looking very good for a Kyogre sweep. Kyogre does have a favorable matchup into Xerneas neutrally. On top of that, having the shield advantage, things are looking really, really good here. Kyogre can no-shield the first, understanding that the opponent has zero way to fast move it down. Whether it's Geomancy, which is a very low damage fast move, or the resisted Incinerate, either way, the opponent has zero way of farming down this Kyogre, so that no shield ends up proving to be a really smart decision, as now the opponent is just stuck with a Kyogre in the most annoying possible health range. They have zero way to get rid of it as it has shields to hide behind, and Kyogre completes the 1v2 and takes the win. Hopping into the next match, and Xerneas finally sees another good lead as it leads into Dialga. Again, this is a fantastic spot to be in as the Xerneas. Xerneas looked like it may have been going for the close combat there. Close combat is a bit risky because the opponent might try and catch, and they do, catching the close combat onto a Giratina. That is extremely unfortunate. In comes the Shadow Latios, but Latios will be taking super effective damage from the Dragon Claws from the Giratina. Dragon Claw will connect. Latios continuing to farm, and this is the Giratina altered. It is significantly tankier than Origin. Going for the Dragon Claw. Opponent will commit the shield. Latios just cannot get to the next Dragon Claw. Precision in counting by the opponent. Latios will commit the shield, making it to the Dragon Claw. If the opponent wants to make a play for switch, they're going to have to shield, and they do. Now in comes Kyogre. Kyogre will be able to absorb this energy, and hopefully Xerneas can do well as a sweeper in the back. It's very hard to wall Xerneas' energy unless you basically have something like a Ho-Oh. So unless there's a Ho-Oh in the back, Xerneas up a shield should be looking to be in a pretty nice spot to hopefully sweep. Opponent will be able to send in the Dialga, farming up energy, and the switch into the Xerneas, going for the close combat. Close combat will not KO, but it does get it into a range where it can potentially be neutralized by Kyogre. And this is where all the energy from Kyogre is looking good. Going to fire off the Thunder. Thunder, massive super effective damage. And the opponent is going to be able to force a shield, and this is going to be tough. Kyogre has energy, but is running out of HP in this matchup, farming up as much as possible, and the opponent lives on 1 HP. If the farm down was possible, that's a win, but unfortunately, it's a very narrow loss. Tough lead for Xerneas in the next match as it leads into Groudon. The Latios save switch is very good at baiting out the Dialga, and as we've seen, if Dialga doesn't respect the resisted Luster Purge, then Latios can make a play for switch. Luster Purge connects, gets the debuff, and gets the farm down as well. Oh my goodness. Opponent not only losing switch advantage, but losing a ton of stored energy on their Dialga. Back in comes the Groudon, but Groudon now has to go toe-to-toe with its nemesis, Kyogre. Precipice Blades is going to hurt. Groudon is an absolute menace. Kyogre is going to make it to the Surf just before the switch clock comes up for the opponent. Surf is going to secure the KO. In the back, opponent is running Melmetal, a Pokemon that isn't run too commonly in the Master League anymore. Going to bank a Surf and send in the Xerneas. It all comes down to this. Is the opponent running Flash Cannon? No, they're running Rock Slide on the Melmetal. Rock Slide, of course, is going to be hitting for consistent neutral damage, but the opponent is doing the right thing. They land one, and then they wait to throw until Xerneas goes for a close combat, because after the close combat, of course, Rock Slide is going to be hitting a lot harder. Rock Slide will connect. Xerneas able to withstand that damage. Xerneas looking to farm up to 2 more close combats, as that will mean game over for the opponent. Rock Slide is shielded. Melmetal, so much energy. We're going to see the final shield from the Xerneas. Xerneas now at the back-to-back close combats. We see the Thunder Shock go through, which means this is not a CMP tie. Opponent recognizes that it's over, and they just let the move go. Xerneas continues to see tough leads as it leads into Kyogre. Again, this is a losing matchup for Xerneas, but Xerneas is going to stay in the matchup to start and fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast does quite a lot of damage. Opponent is going to commit the shield. Farming up with the Xerneas, going for a catch onto their own Kyogre, but the opponent shows great patience, holding onto their energy, and now they send in Zacian. If Zacian is being brought into Kyogre, it's almost assuredly running Wild Charge. Kyogre can tank 1, and the nice thing is Kyogre actually wins CMP, so that's a really nice play. The opponent has back-to-back, they don't get to use their second move, and due to the debuff, the Surf actually KOs. Opponent gonna bring back in their own Kyogre. They go for the Surf. They go for an undercharge. Can't quite make it to the Thunder and forced to settle for a Surf. Surf not gonna do a ton of damage, but now the opponent's Kyogre is gonna get stuck against Latios. Latios going to be hit with a move here. We see the shield, and it is going to be a Surf in the back. It's Xerneas, the opponent running Double Fairy. And I think it all comes down to, is the opponent going to respect the Shadow Luster Purge? Moonblast will be shielded. Latios continuing to farm. Latios going for a bait. This would be massive. The opponent needs to shield, and they don't shield. Oh no. Luster Purge needs to connect. Farming up to it, going for the Luster Purge, and the opponent does not respect it. And this is looking like game over. Opponent not respecting either charge move from that Shadow Latios, and Shadow Latios will secure the win. Hopping into the final match, leading Xerneas into Landorus. And we finally see a somewhat positive lead for the Xerneas. Xerneas was going through a very tough time in these battles. Oh my goodness. We're going to see Landorus fire off the Stone Edge. Xerneas able to withstand that damage and return fire with the Moonblast. Moonblast does a massive amount of damage to the Landorus. And now we're going to see a save switch into the Shadow Latios. Latios farming up energy. We're going to see a no shield as Landorus will fire off the Stone Edge. That does quite a lot of damage. Opponent sends in Zacian. We've already seen how much damage the Luster Purge can do to a Xerneas. How about onto a Zacian? And it connects. Look at the damage. Oh my goodness. In comes Kyogre. And this one waterfall should be lethal. Kyogre commits the shield on the close combat. Opponent sends in Landorus, so whatever they have in back is not a fan of Kyogre either. Kyogre can tank whatever is thrown here. It is going to be the Stone Edge. In the back, it's Yveltal, and having a massive energy lead and Thunder, things are looking very, very good here. Going to bait with the Surf. Opponent commits the shield, and it's all over for the opponent. Yveltal will be firing off their Dark Pulse, but we see a very confident shield from the Kyogre, going for the Thunder. Thunder knocks Yveltal from the skies, and that's a good game. All in all, these were some very entertaining battles. Shadow Latios, definitely not a recommended Pokemon for climbing Elo in the Open Master League, as it's generally outclassed by a lot of the more popular dragons like Dialga, Rayquaza, Zekrom, etc. But the nice thing is, it does go to show that Spice is viable in the Open Master League. Granted, it does require some careful team planning, as you saw, and a little bit of the surprise factor with opponents not respecting the Luster Purge, so very, very well done to this battler. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.